This offseason, we've seen many teams improve significantly, seeing teams overhaul their rosters or bringing in a new coaching staff. Many teams last season that a majority of us thought were mid and their record showed it have brought in pieces through free agency and the draft, and now we look at them as potential playoff teams, and some of them can even be looked at as contenders. But through all of this, the New Orleans Saints have quietly had one of the best off seasons and have built themselves up to be definitely a competitive team, and in my opinion are a dark horse contender to come out of the NFC, even though they lost Sean Payton. Many of the moves that they've made have done nothing but made an already loaded roster even better, and not to mention, they're finally healthy. Before I get into things, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed and dropped a like. I make NFL content weekly, and your support in any way helps out growing the channel. I appreciate every one of you that watch, whether you're subbed or not, and just the support, it just makes me happy, you know. If there's any topics you want me to talk about, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Last season, with the short time the Saints had Jameis in the lineup, the Saints had a 5-2 record and most definitely were well on their way to a playoff appearance. Jameis was undoubtedly playing some of the best and most efficient football of his career and finally could see out of his eyes after getting LASIK surgery. Statistically, he was doing amazing, and in the 7 games he played, he boasted numbers of 14 touchdowns and only 3, and I mean yes, 3 interceptions. That's a big-ass improvement over his 30 picks in his last season as a starter, and you can credit that to sitting behind Drew Brees and working with offensive coaching staff with guys like Sean Payton. Having Jameis back is big time. Having him play instead of Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian from last season brings a well-versed quarterback that definitely fits in well with the players whom all love him. Jameis in that locker room honestly just brings the guy together and is one of those dudes that you know boosts morale and has a lot of chemistry with the team. And it's obvious because, simply put, Jameis is just a cool-ass dude that the guys rally around. I'm sure we've all seen the interviews and the videos of him dancing in the locker room, and they just show how much of a fun dude he is and how easy he is to get along with. One of the more overlooked parts of this team's offseason is the fact that they're getting healthy with Jameis Winston and both Michael Thomas coming back from injury. The Saints were on track to be a pretty damn good team last season. Had they had Jameis play the full year and had they had Michael Thomas too, this team undoubtedly would have been one of the better teams in the league. They still managed to be competitive, although they were starting guys like Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill, and they still finished 9-8. Not to mention, this is the same team that beat the Bucs twice and they shut them out in one of those 2 games. And the fact that the 2 guys I just mentioned didn't play, and the only major losses out of this team during this offseason is losing Marcus Williams and coach Sean Payton. But if you remember that game, the newly appointed head coach Dennis Allen was acting head coach for the game as Sean Payton was out with the Rona. And if there's anything you could take away from this game is that the Saints being run by Dennis Allen can clearly be dangerous if they can manhandle Tom Brady like that. This offseason, the Saints free agency and draft period has been pretty impressive. Some of the notable names they've managed to sign is guys like Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry. And with Marcus Williams going to Baltimore, they found a very solid replacement in Marcus May, who is coming off an Achilles tear. But he definitely will fit in as he's versatile and is pretty solid. They're bringing in proven veterans, with Tyrann bringing toughness and championship pedigree. Jarvis brings a super reliable receiver 3 that Jameis can definitely depend on. And Marcus May, like I said, brings versatility and an all-around game that can definitely replace what Marcus Williams brought to the table. And through the draft in their first round with their 2 picks, they got another player from The Ohio State University in Chris Olave. Pairing Olave with Thomas and Landry is pretty damn good. Olave is incredibly talented and has ideal play speed, hands, and ball tracking ability. He's smooth and fluid and definitely is going to bring a dynamic to the offense, who projects to be a big play machine. And they also drafted Trevor Penning, who definitely is solid, but he has some flaws. He definitely can be coached out of having so many penalty-worthy plays, being stiff at times, and to stop throwing dudes into his quarterback's knees like we saw at the Senior Bowl. But the greatest thing about him is his athleticism, his heart, and how he never gives up on a play. He's definitely going to be a decent replacement at tackle with a loss in Teron Armstead. Just take a look at this team's offensive depth chart, and now take a look at the defensive depth chart. You can't tell me on paper that this team doesn't have a chance to go all the way. And all things considered this season, a fully healthy Saints team with Marshawn Lattimore, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, or Bradley Roby, or anybody else not pulling any bullshit to get them suspended, I genuinely believe they have all the pieces in place to not only win the division, but make it out of the NFC. But with all of this said, the league is unpredictable and you can never really tell what's going to happen. Whether there's injuries, suspensions, or the team just isn't what they make it out to be on paper. You never really know, and at the end of the day, this is all my opinion. I definitely have a lot of faith in Jameis and the Saints as a collective unit. And from what we saw last season with the short time they had Jameis, they most definitely have all the pieces to be a great team. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe. And if you don't want to, just feel free to drop a like. Your support in any way helps with the algorithm, and it just means a lot. I appreciate you checking out this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.